me. I'm Stephanie. This is Anne. Yes, we're thrilled. So we got together at, where did we first meet? At
the first Women's Caucus
meeting.
Which is in Concord.
Which is, yep, we were having, it was at someone's house.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember. I sat next to Mary Frieda. She told me all about Manchester.
Yes.
It was wonderful.
She knows. Yes, and I was a rep for Henniker, not a state rep, but a, what do you call it, convention rep. Mm-hmm. And I met Erin Termel and went to a walk-in session about starting a women's caucus, and then Erin connected us, and Erin is now in DC, but still a good friend. So Ann and I kind of started this in 2017 after Trump won. Sort of, I know, it was like, oh my God, we needed community, we needed people.
Yes.
And that's kind of where Women's Caucus came from. So this is our kickoff for 2021. So
yes.
Go ahead.
So as Stephanie noted, in 2016, as a result of Trump winning office, women all around the country, including in New Hampshire, rallied together and said, right?
Right.
In 2020, how many of you voted?
Yeah.
All of you. Because women have a voice. And in 2020, we slayed the dragon, right?
For the most part.
November 3rd, we slayed the dragon. January 6th, we realized he didn't die. He didn't die. He's still around, and his toxic characteristics and ideas are infiltrating into our state. So if 2020 was about slaying the dragon, 2022 is about fixing our state, because the governor and the Republicans need to go. We need a fresh set of ideas, a fresh set of Democrats, and a fresh set of women. So that's why we look to all of you to keep the momentum going and to rally and come together. So I want to ask Jen Alfred Teaser to come up and read a poem. Party started, Jen.
I'm only here for the poetry. So let's be clear about that. So this morning I was reminded about this poem that I absolutely love, and I love to share with women everywhere, because the poem is really about like the power that comes from within you that you bring to absolutely everything that you do, whether you acknowledge it or not, or whether other people acknowledge it or not. So like the fact that you showed up here today and are bringing your full self and are here to not just, show up for yourself, but show up for each other is a really big deal. So when I had seen Ann's note and Stephanie's note about the Women's Caucus and saw Executive Councilor Warmington was the speaker, I thought we have to show up for her because she's 1 out of 5. She shows up and does this work, and not only does this work, but I am in her district, and I'm seeing her, emails to our group telling us what she's doing for us. She's showing up consistently for us, so I thought we have to show up for her. This is how this works. It's a symbiosis. We don't exist in and of ourselves. We have to show up for each other. And then when Becky told me she was speaking, I was like, hell yes. Becky's one of my closest girlfriends, and I absolutely love her very much, and everything you see in her is 1,000% authentic. So this poem, I'm just going to start you off with this, beating heart poetry, which I love. Ada Limon. Does anybody know who she is? Yes, of course, of course. Okay, so how to triumph like a girl. I like the lady horses best. How they make it all look easy. Like running 40 miles per hour is as fun as taking a nap or eating grass. I like their lady horse swagger. After winning, ears up, girls, ears up. But mainly, let's be honest, I like that they're ladies, as if the big, dangerous animal is also a part of me. That somewhere inside of me, that delicate skin of my body, there pumps an 8-pound female horse heart. Giant with power, heavy with blood. Don't you want to believe it? Don't you want to believe it? You believe it, right? Yeah. Don't you want to lift my shirt and see the huge beating genius machine that thinks, no, it knows. It knows it's going to come in first. That's my gift to you. When you're sitting around wondering what you bring, just remember your 8-pound giant beating heart. That's what you bring to everything you do.
Lady heart, lady boss.
Yeah.
So before we turn the floor over to our speakers, we're going to make you all do a little bit of work. We started this 4 years ago with this mission. The Women's Caucus is a forum to connect New Hampshire's women Our goal is to provide networking, foster collaboration through inclusivity, and be a gateway to action. And so what we want to do is update some of our goals by getting feedback from you all. And Stephanie is going to lead us in this exercise.
Yes, okay, so we're at 6:40. We're figuring we'll be done at 7:30. We've got to give time for our speakers. So this is going to take maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And really, it's just about gathering your ideas. We need to understand what we can do and how we can organize and who wants to join us so that we can get things moving forward from this point on. So on your tables, there's a bunch of Post-its, there's a bunch of pens. Over there are where I would like you to take your Post-its when you write your notes and slap them up there. And then we're going to collate all that data and send it out on the email list so that everyone has the notes. Because again, normally this kind of thing would take like an hour, but we're doing it fast. We're doing it fast.
And the notes are reactions to these 3 questions.
Yeah, so kind of like one of the big questions Ann and I have is, what do meetings look like? What would this group like for meetings moving forward? In the past, we would do monthly meetings and we meet at NHDP headquarters was a common thing. And then we'd switch in some events here and there, something like this. We always did the Women's March. We would always organize a big event at the coffee bar place in downtown Concord. So, what I like about this group is a little bit different from like the other groups I've been involved in with Henniker Dems or Merrimack County Dems, is that it's a little more social, it's a little more less business, more connecting and networking. So that's some of the piece I think that is unique.
Sets us apart.
And some folks kind of get tired of with the Zoom meetings. We were talking about Zoom in 2020. We didn't do much because it was like everyone was Zoomed out. So we want to be a little bit different and make it fun. And we've had people come to meetings who were Republicans and they came with a friend who dragged them in because we're like, we have wine, come.
So that's how we get younger members.
That's how we get them in.
Yeah.
So we kind of want to get some ideas from folks about what you think meetings should look like. We've had good speakers come. We were just talking about asking Zandra Rice Hawkins to come again and talk about the Free Staters, because I don't think enough people in New Hampshire realize what that is. Right. And when they think they're voting a Republican, they're voting that. And so that would probably be a good thing that we do next. So write all your ideas down, slap them up on the board. Another thing is, you want to do that one?
Sure. What are our goals? So we have the 2021 municipal election cycle coming up. And then we also have the 2022 cycle. So what kinds of events might you want to see? Could it be candidate driven? Could it be action driven, topic driven? Tell us what you think you'd like to see. And then the last one is there an area of focus?
Yeah. So some examples of this is like 2 years ago with Joyce Craig.
Yep. We
organized a bunch of ladies to just get together on a Saturday and because canvassing, I never canvassed before. I think the first time I ever canvassed was with you.
Yeah, we were not politically active until Trump won election.
Yeah. And so I was terrified, but it was nice being like, well, Ann's gonna go, and then we're gonna go get a beverage after. So okay, we can do it.
So we love organizing canvas kickoffs.
Getting buddies, kind of making it fun, and we had fun canvassing. Now I actually enjoy it, which is
And how
fun.
important is the networking component, where we come together and we meet like-minded people, friends and Democrats?
Yeah. Yes, and then, so just kind of your ideas, and if anyone wants to just speak up right now, well, because we have time, what other ideas or what sort of things you think are important?
We need to have better campaign literature and better campaign signs. Everybody kind of does the same old red, white, and blue, blah, 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 blah.
Or green, but yes.
Yeah. All right, or purple. So it would be interesting to have a graphic designer maybe to help us out with that.
Okay.
And then, I went, some women's foundation in New Hampshire ran the Run As You Are,
Oh,
whatever.
The Women's Foundation does a lot of work for
So my daughter, who was 30-something, who was living with us at the time, she and I went, and they gave us like some great, ideas. Like, don't give the same old answer all the time. Oh, I'm for education, I'm for fair wages, whatever. You need to punch it up a little bit. You need to have some energy in it and personalize your story, So
messaging.
Messaging,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
but I think
write it down.
I will. I'm a better talker.
Oh no, that's good. All right, somebody write it down for her.
Yeah. So I think that would be nice.
Yep. Graphics. Yep.
How many women, I know we have some candidates in our group right now who are here. So we have someone running for special election in Bedford. Where is she? Over there. So,
do some graphic design for you if you want. Don't worry.
Thank you. This is amazing to be here because, again, Bedford. So I'm here with Representative Mullen from Bedford, who many of you may know is the first Democrat elected in 85 years. An amazing mentor and is trying to build a bench, but has built a community in Bedford. And I ran with her last time. We didn't both make it through that time. But the special election I think is going to be different, and I think there are changing demographics, and people are angry about what they're learning just now is going on in Concord. So you talk about like messaging and not being boring. I feel like I talk a lot about boring stuff like infrastructure, and I talk about being on town council. I was a councilor for years, and how municipal state decisions affect municipal budgets and downshifting property tax costs and all that. But that's not exciting. That doesn't get people motivated to show up at the polls. When I tell them, if your friend had a pregnancy that was not viable, if you have a friend who lost a baby and was going to be forced to carry its term, that makes people upset. Yeah. And it's something that's real now. And it was theoretical in the last election. So in Bedford, we're working on the messaging of being like, I'm not out to blow up your taxes, but there's stuff going on about what your teachers are going to be allowed to talk about, whether we're going to be able to get teachers, especially after the last year, keep teachers. It's been a hard year and a half, and I think a special election is a really good time to get people to pay attention. So I'm knocking doors. We started last week. We got out a couple hundred doors this week. We'll be out every Saturday.
We need to connect so we can
Canvassing event.
Thanks for letting me get the word out there because it's 6 weeks. It's the day after Labor Day, September 7th.
We need money.
Yeah. We always do, right? I'm still getting used to asking for it. Yes, I'm working. That's right. We are like to be asked. Yes, people do like to be asked. That's true, and I'm learning that too. So I got to get people to turn out, and it's a turnout race. It's going to be a low turnout, and there are more Dems in Bedford, and I think they've been dispirited for a long time. Like they don't realize there's somebody out there who aligns with them and that they can show up for. So I appreciate being here. It's great energy. Thank you so much for letting me talk for a minute.
Wonderful.
She's running for mayor.
Oh my gosh!
Wait, tell us, what are you running for?
Mayor.
I'm running for mayor in Summersworth. I'll be the first woman mayor in Summersworth. We're currently the lowest representation for women when you combine mayor, council, and school board. So we have a long way to go in Summersworth. And I'm launching tomorrow. We're having a big campaign launch party. If anyone's in Summersworth, we're meeting at Bad Lab. We'll also be streaming it for folks who can't make it in person. Got some great folks, including Becky Whitley just came out with a wonderful, beautiful endorsement of but yeah, just really bringing that message of collaborative leadership and listening to people. And there's only 3 elected women mayors in New Hampshire right now. So we need to get.
She's also accepting donations, so talk to her. I see you, lady.
30 for mayor.
Oh, wonderful. What a see. See? Right, your neighbor next door. Go ahead.
So this is my first time being a state representative. I was surprised when I
What town?
from Milford.
Oh.
I was surprised being a Latina, an immigrant, and a woman in Milford running and win the election. One of the.
That's amazing.
I think for me it's really important, diversity and inclusion. We need more people who look like me.
Yes.
than
Yes.
because with everything that's happening in New Hampshire right now, with all these crazy bills, we need to show the Republicans that we have diversity and inclusion and we're here to stay. I'm not here to take away anybody's title or position or take away anybody's money. I work really hard for the community and then I'm showing like anywhere it's possible for me, a human possibility to be in the state. Like I'm like driving everywhere to show them that yes, I may be the state representative for Milford, but I work for the people of New Hampshire. I work for everyone in New Hampshire, not just Milford.
No one can follow that, by the way.
Oh, let's go. We're a little out of time. So please, use your Post-its, use your pens, throw all your ideas down. We'll collate those, but we do need to have another meeting, probably in a month. We'll figure out where we can do it. Report back here. I know they have a bar.
I would like one suggestion
Yes.
before you end that, because I know of women who wanted to be here, but for one good reason or another. It'd be great if we could include them by asking these questions in an appropriate fashion.
That is
they
a
can
great
also give
suggestion.
input.
Yes, so that's a good idea. So we'll send this out on our mailing list too.
Yeah,
and
Mary Grace
welcome
will
any
be-
feedback.
yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's, yeah. Let's write that down.
Actually, could we zoom in at the same time so people like on?
That's a good idea. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of the hybrid thing.
Yeah, we just we have to
Yeah.
sort that, we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah. And one idea that Ann and I had in 2020 that we didn't execute on, but we talked about it, was using, Ann got a new house in Manchester and she has a phenomenal porch.
I do.
So we were thinking.
Porch politics.
Porch politics.
Porch politics.
Very
on the
safe
porch.
outdoors. You
And
know.
any candidates that want to come, and we could do like a live Facebook feed of,
Yeah.
and then you could blast
what we
it.
wanna
So
do.
that was kind of like something we wanted to do in 2020, but then
Yeah.
she had to get married,
I
and
know.
that guy,
But
and
since this
so much
the
work.
porch. Yeah.
And thank you, Andrew, for coming and being so supportive.
He's a feminist. I married a feminist. Yeah. I did.
So our first speaker is, we're impromptu, we put Wendy on the spot, and we're so happy that she agreed. No pressure, no pressure. So Wendy Thomas is from Merrimack. She's a former state rep, and I'm not sure if all of you know, but she is a role model, and she is gridiron, because she ran twice and she ran hard, and unfortunately she did not win, but she does not give up, and I think she's a great person to speak with us tonight. She's also the executive director of New Hampshire Challenge, which is a disability advocacy group, and she is a badass extraordinaire. I got that.
All right, well, thank you so much. And this is just so encouraging to see all of these women, because when women work together, women are unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. So what we need now, more than ever, is women with strong hearts to lead.
Horse hearts.
And we have to lead with our hearts. And what does that mean? Men typically, and I'm sort of generalizing right now, but men typically think, about the numbers, about the finance and that kind of stuff. Women think about our families, our communities, and every single thing, every single decision that we make, we think about how it's going to affect where we live and who we live with. And so that's one of the big differences. Another thing that I want women to be aware of, and I learned this firsthand when I ran the second time in this special election, is that when men attack men, they talk in terms of violence. I'm going to punch you, I'm going to beat you up, I'm going to put you in the emergency room. When women are attacked, typically by men, they attack what we hold dear. They call us bad mothers. They call us ugly. They call us fat. They say they would never have sex with us, like we would ever have sex. But the thing is, if you understand that, you can diffuse it right up front. It still hurts. Of course, it still hurts. But if you understand the game that they're playing, you can diffuse it. And so we need to support women who run. We need to give them, like Megan over here has young children. She needs childcare support. Just to run. We need money to run. But it doesn't just stop during the election. If you win, fantastic. That's wonderful. But we still have to support you. We still have to give you the resources that you need to get the job done. And here's the other thing that nobody talks about. If you lose, we still have to support those women. And again, it's because women run with our hearts. We run because we want to change the world. We want to make the world a better place. And so when we don't win, that is really, really painful. And we need to sort of acknowledge that, and we need to support the women from soup to nuts, you know, from the beginning of their campaign till after their campaign. So how do we do this? We have to emulate the behavior we want to see in others. And it's not going to be easy. We're in a really tough time right now. But we've got to be out there. We've got to lead with our hearts. We have to show people that we care about our communities. We care about families. We care about everything that's out there. And that, oh, and I just forgot that thought. but that we can make a difference. You know, and that we're here to make a difference, and that we have to link arms with each other. We really have to. I mean, there was and I'm seeing it, and I'm in a lot of different groups. There's some infighting right now in the Democratic Party because there's so much frustration. There is so much frustration, and there's so many people who are being mean right now. We have to put that aside. We're better than that. Yes. We have to link arms. You know, I mean, to everyone who has run, congratulations. Thank you for running. And for everyone who is going to run, you have my prayers, you have my support, and let's get this done. Yeah.
Inspiration.
Great speaker.
I know.
She's a great speaker.
So glad we caught it. Who wouldn't vote for that?
Our next speaker is Senator Becky Whitley. Her first term as a New Hampshire State Senator. She's from District 15, which represents Concord, Henniker, Hopkinton, and Warner. She's my senator. Her entire career has been committed to social justice in public service as a disability rights lawyer, climate activist and organizer, child health policy specialist, and advocate. She sits on the Senate Judiciary, Health and Human Services Committees, and the Joint Legislative Committee on Administrative Rules. And she's a mother and just gorgeous, and I love her.
And you look great.
Oh, well, I can't. You can't give me credit because Jen Teaster called me and said, "This is what you're wearing tonight." And when Jen Teaster tells you to do something, you do it. Right? So I just want to thank you two for organizing us and bringing us all together again. This is so just empowering to be in this room of women. Hi, my friend Sue Prentice, Senator Sue Prentice over here. Just feel the love and support, and if I don't know you yet, you know, I feel it already. And that's what it's all about for women supporting other women in office. It is that unconditional support that we need to give each other. Because look, we all know that when women lead, everything changes, right? And because when women are in charge, they make everything better. As my friend Wendy said, right? We care about everyone. Right? We're looking to improve health outcomes for our entire community. We're looking to preserve our natural resources for our children, our grandchildren, right? So when women lead, everything changes, right? And when women lead, everything gets better, right? So to me, I feel this moral imperative, honestly, to not only when I ran for office, but to support other women running for office, right? Especially now after this session. This session, we know from the data, after the pandemic, and a lot of this data comes from the Women's Foundation and from other organizations, that women were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, and women of color were even more disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. Look, so in this session, where we should have been lifting up those that were disproportionately impacted, instead, the majority took their power, and not only did they assault our fundamental rights to our bodies, assaulted that, but they also gave tax breaks to the most wealthy and gave mere scraps to working families, okay? So we're talking about working mothers who not only are working, you know, to get everything possible to their employers, and at the very same time, they have children next to them, and they're doing everything possible to give to their family. And we know the reality is that women have taken on a vast majority of the caregiving responsibilities during the pandemic. It's just a reality. So in this session, where we should have been supporting working mothers, we should have been supporting working families and thinking about those solutions to support women of color and working families. Instead, the majority did the opposite. Okay, so we have a moral imperative, right? An imperative to support more women to run for office, because when women lead, everything changes and everything gets better. So I am so excited to be here. I will be here for all of you.
Okay, so in the beginning I said that in 2020 we slayed the dragon, but that the dragon crept up into our state, and really we're fighting the dragon today in Concord. And Cinde Warmington is the lone voice, the lone Democrat.
We're here for you.
Just a couple of things to introduce Cinde. She's a healthcare attorney. She began her law practice at Shahian and Gordon. She advocated for the expansion of substance use treatment services, increased funding for mental health services, and increased access to telehealth services. She has volunteered on multiple boards in New Hampshire and is a recipient of the Lakes Region Mental Health Center's Pete Harris Community Service Award for her advocacy work and to raise awareness of mental health issues. Cinde, come on up here.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Stephanie. You're doing an amazing thing here, and I just want to say you are all the wind on my back right now. A lot of days when I need that. I just want to give a shout out to Becky. She's doing a great job in Concord. She's doing a great job really lifting up these important issues. I just want you all to know I will knock on doors for the special election in Bedford. Chance to knock on doors. That's how you change the hearts and minds of people. One door knock at a time. Really, it's so important. And so let's be there for her. Let's get this done in Bedford. All right. So what's going on the Executive Council? Well, first let me just say that my Donnie, who's been working with me, Donnie Spencer. Do you all know Donnie? All right, he told me I had 5 minutes to speak.
As much time as you want. I'll defend you while you speak.
I was just jotting down a few other things I didn't want to forget to say. But what's going on the Executive Council? Well, when these horrible things happen in the legislature, right, they end up in the Executive Council in the form of contracts, right? So, you know, as we're going through contracts now, and I'm seeing, hey, we just reduced the funding for homelessness by 10 to 20% across the board. What's going on here? Well, we needed to take a cut here. We were told by the governor's office we needed to cut the budget, and so we've cut the funding for homelessness. When you take a look at where you see child care services, where you see all of the services that are important to us, they are being cut in this budget. The things that are really, really important to us are being cut. Family planning, the budget for family planning, which we're going to talk about separately, cut in this budget. There is so much human suffering and pain in this budget, and this is all on the governor, and it is all because the governor wants to give a tax break to corporations who fund him, who support him. This is political, and he's bargaining away what is important to us. And he bargained away this time our fundamental rights. Let's get down to what this election, where do we want the focus to be? We got to start here. We control our bodies. He has, repeat after me, inserted himself into this. And we won't have it. We simply are not going to have him. Let's talk about it, what it really is. A transvaginal ultrasound is forcing a probe up into the vagina of maybe a young girl who's been impregnated by her father. Maybe a rape victim. I mean, this is real life. Maybe it's just done to a woman to humiliate and shame her. That is the only purpose. of a medically unnecessary procedure being forced on us.
Yes.
He calls himself pro-choice. Let's remember that. What else was in that budget? Family planning audits. We're going to have to do financial audits of all the family planning agencies in order to be able to contract with them. The Commissioner of Health and Human Services testified at the last 2 Executive Council meetings in response to my direct questions that yes, if we have to do this before we can do the contracts, it's going to result in the delay of treatment to women. It could result in the interruption of services. What kind of services, I ask? Contraceptive services? Yes, she says. Abortion services? Yes. Cancer screenings? Yes. You're telling me that people's cancers may be diagnosed later than they would have been because these people want to do an audit just for the purpose of doing it, just to muck up the works? Yes. Yes. That's what we're facing now. That is what we're facing. A 24-week abortion. That is such a red herring. Do you know when a 24-week abortion happens? It happens when you have a non-viable fetus or a direct threat to the life of the mother. Exactly. And what this, make no mistake about this, what this really translates into is doctors who will not want to practice in our state.
Yes.
Right.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Yep.
That is those high-risk pregnancies up at Dartmouth where you have those ultra specialists that will take those really difficult pregnancies. They don't want to come here if we are criminalizing their behavior. They will be faced with the decision of whether they can do this abortion when they think it's medically necessary, and have they taken the chance that they're going to be criminalized themselves. That is what we're talking about. We already have maternity deserts all across this state. And now this is what we are talking about. This is not only cruel, and I've read that a number of times, not only is it cruel to tell a woman that she is going to carry a non-viable fetus to term, but this is dangerous. It's dangerous to the health and the lives of women across our state. And who do you think is most impacted by this? The poor.
Absolutely.
The women who can afford to take time off from work and travel to another state and get these abortion services are still going to get them. Who is going to be left behind? The poor, the underserved, people of color, disproportionately impacted by these cruel and dangerous. Don't forget the word. Say it. Dangerous. When you're out there, say it. Don't gloss over what they're doing here. So our governor calls himself pro-choice. I don't know what he means by that exactly. Because this is the governor who voted to defund Planned Parenthood. Those contracts are coming before the Executive Council. I will be working hard to lift this up, to talk to other councilors. All of you need to be working and motivating around this issue, to talk to other councilors, to put the pressure on them, to let them know women are not going to forget this. Yeah. Women are going to remember this in November of 2022. They all need to know that.
Are you challenging Cinde?
We're on the Executive Council. Let's talk about the
What a good politician.
Listen, this is what let's not lose sight of this. Because what happened with the Executive Council on this issue of abortion? This is the governor who appointed Gordon McDonald to be Chief Justice of our Supreme Court. So now we have these laws that, as you said, were hypothetical in the last election, right? Now we have them, and where are they going to get challenged? In the courts. Those are going straight up, and they will be on the desk of the great Gordon McDonald, the anti-choice activist. Okay? That's an Executive Council decision. People don't understand the power of the Executive Council and the consequence of not having control of the Executive Council. This is a governor who vetoed the Reproductive Parity Act last year, right? This is a governor who he can't get out of his own way he can't you can't lose sight of all his veto pens. They're everywhere, all over his desk. He launches them off, but he simply can't find one when the trailer bill comes out. And women's rights are under assault. Okay? That is where we all need to be focused every minute of every day in this election, is that if women are going to have power, we have to have control over our bodies to start, right? What else is in this budget? What other things are coming to the Executive Council? Well, we've seen, I just want to say, there's a lot of talk on the Executive Council about child care. Not the child care credit that is magical and coming from Washington and is such a wonderful thing for working families. Not that child tax credit. We don't talk about that at Executive Council because they never want to acknowledge anything that our congressional delegation has done for the state. But what they do want to talk about is something they call the cliff effect. Okay, here's the problem with child care is if you're up here getting benefits for staying home and not working, so if you go to work, you're going to lose your Medicaid or you're going to lose your unemployment supplement or whatever, then there's a cliff effect. You would fall off and you would be lower when you went to work. And we don't want people to stay home. We want them to go to work. So I will just tell you, ladies, there's two ways to solve this problem. You can either lower the standard here so that it's more advantageous for you to go to work. In other words, make sure you're really poor, okay? So you have to go to work. Or you could actually raise the standard. How about that? How about we do things that actually raise the standards for women who are working? How about that? How about that? When they talk about childcare, they're very clever the way they use their language. And one of the places where they're most clever is in education funding. Right? Education funding, you'll hear it all the time. They love to steal our word, choice. Okay? They talk about choice for the parents. And the parents should be able to make choices about where their children are going to go to school. And that's a good thing, so they say, right? They don't talk about the fact that what this does fundamentally is undermine public education in our entire system. They don't talk about the fact that they are going to take $5,000 roughly per kid who's homeschooled and in private school and give it to them. That's about, what is it, Mary? $60, $80 million? Where's that coming from? That just magically is going to appear in our budget, right? Right. They are fundamentally destroying public education, and make no bones about it. They're not hiding it, okay? They're telling us they don't really believe in public education. They believe that educating your child is your responsibility as a parent. You should do it. And we should only provide a minimally adequate education for people who can't afford it. That is what they are talking about. It is transformational in a very, very bad way for our society. And so I ask questions. I continue to ask questions at the council meeting. One of the advantages of being on the Executive Council is that you get to ask the commissioners questions. I don't think there's anyone else in government that gets to ask the commissioners questions. Every 2 weeks they come before me and we get to ask them questions and they have to answer them or choose not to answer them, and that's part of the record too, right? So, you know, it's helpful to me when I hear from you the important issues so that I can lift those questions up, but it's helpful for me to be able to ask those questions and really be transparent, make them accountable for what they are really, really doing. This is the power of the Executive Council. Now, let's get to the bad part of this. I'm just one. Yeah? And we need more voices. I have to tell this one story about a female perspective on the Executive Council. Is that the governor issued the schedule for the next 6 months of the Executive Council meeting, and we were meeting on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I said, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I am up to my elbows in pie crust. We have people coming to dinner, right? So I said to the other female on the Executive Council, well, what do you think about that? She said, that's not a good day. So we both didn't want it. So I show up at the meeting, And the governor's liaison says, well, I said, well, what's the deal with the meeting? Can we move that date? He said, well, 3 of the councilors thought that was a good date. I said, which one of those?
They've never brought turkey.
Others, did they agree? Well, Janet Stevens also didn't want to have it on that date, but they went ahead with it anyway. It was only because Councilor Wheeler cuts Christmas trees that day, that he thought it would be a good day to not have the meeting, and so it was rescheduled. But even the little things, that having a female perspective on the executive council in every way, it is so critical that they understand how things impact families, how things impact women. That's a voice that is just not been heard. So, what are we going to do about it? As I call donors, I say, I'm lonely. I'm really lonely. That's why I'm calling you, because I'm so lonely. And I need your help to get me some company on the executive council. So will you help me? And what we are doing is we have put in the same infrastructure they've always had at the House and the Senate, never had it at the executive council. And that is full-time staff doing year-round statewide communications about what the executive council is and why voters should not skip over it. And here's the part that involves you: candidate recruitment and help. Executive council candidates have always been on their own. They've most often run their campaigns off their kitchen tables very informally. We will not win that way. We will not win that way. We need to run our best candidates. We need to run professional campaigns. And so if anybody here knows anybody that might be interested in running in another district, not mine, please, then please.
Could really benefit, like, what district do you think we could really flip? I mean, that's an important consideration too.
But honestly, this is tough, right? Because we don't know what the districts look like.
Right.
Right? So, and I've seen all sorts of crazy maps. We don't know what they look like. So, but to me, which ones can we flip? Every single one. Why? I mean, I'm telling you, you need to talk about the assault on women. This is not New Hampshire. This is one of the most pro-choice states in the union. This is not New Hampshire, and this will not fly. And the voters will hear it. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about it every day from now until November 2022. All right, I want everybody to pink up. Pink is a power color, and show up for some special elections. I'm going to look and see if there's anything else I missed. I don't think so. And show up to get our Bedford seat filled with show up and let's get out there and let's make it happen and just talk to your friends and neighbors. And I just want to say again, you are the wind at my back. I do love the work. I love the work. My husband laughs that when that big sack of documents arrives, I'm like a kid at Christmas. They're here. I know that makes me very strange.
Just a lawyer. It's okay.
Exactly. But I love the work. But I so appreciate knowing that the work, that you appreciate the work. When people say things to me about we appreciate your work, it's so gratifying to me. You are the wind beneath my wings. So thank you all. And
We're going to have some follow-up action items. Our Bedford candidate and our Summerworth candidate, we need to get your information so that we can organize a group to help you with some canvassing. So don't leave without talking to me.
I have my door hanger.
Okay.
Yes, I just want to say 2 things. First of all, Cinde does challenge the governor every 2 weeks. And secondly, anybody who is interested in running for office, Representative Sophia Wazir last session got a bill passed. You can spend campaign finance money on childcare.
And I actually, we have a little time, and I'm going to put someone on the spot. Miss Sue Prentice. I tried to connect with her before this event, and I couldn't connect with her, so I'm just going to have her come up here, because she is also a first-term senator, right? Just tell us a little bit about you, tell everyone a little bit about you and what you're working on.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. So it's a great opportunity to be here tonight, and it's so nice to see so many people in person. Before I say anything else, you're Megan.
Yes.
Okay. My favorite bill this session was, I think it was House Bill 500, where we took where the food that's left over at schools is properly packaged and sent home with families with food insecurity. I remember your testimony. People all over the state that is my favorite bill. So I just wanted to recognize you, because I'm like, you're so familiar to me. I'm a paramedic, and I'm in a male-dominated field, and I have been working my way up the ladder, and since I was since I was 18 years old in college. And what I want to share with you, and part of what brings me, or in large part what brings me to public service, is being a paramedic. And I have been in the room where I am the only woman. Okay, I remember sitting in a technical committee, this sounds really exciting, to design ambulances in Phoenix, Arizona, and there were 33 people there. And you know who the only female was? Yeah. And it just made me think more about, I've been recruiting people to public service for a while, because I believe the best way to serve your community is to stand up, even how hard it is, even with all the time that we don't have. If we're going to affect change, we have to be part of that. So I left that and thought, what am I going to do to lift other women up, to make them the fabric in their communities? And I ran for city council, because I couldn't volunteer for the ambulance, and that's where it all started. So that's who I am. I'm on Senate Education, and I'm on executive departments and administration. I'm a former state employee. So I was the first female chief of emergency medical services. Which is again, a male-dominated group, but it was a place where I found my voice, and I turned my focus, not just there, but every day, to bringing not just people into public service, but women into public service. And when they say to me, now my 24-year-old daughter is out of the house, okay? When they say to me, I don't have time, she was a little girl when I first ran. I didn't have time either. But what's really important? And we as a community, if we help them, not just encourage them to run, but advocate, donate, and lift them up, they will run and we will be there. So I appreciate this off-the-cuff opportunity to say hello to the group.
To put people on the fly.
And I hope to see you out there. And I'm here for you too. Special election, mayoral. I've been a female mayor. Yep. Here for Crystal. And thank you again. I'll see you tonight.
Thank you. I don't know if I want to just, I don't see him, but Jeff and Bruce, they're the owners of Colby Hill Inn, and they've been very, very supportive to me and letting us have this event here. And thank you to Amanda, our lovely bartender. Please support this location. They do amazing wine dinners. Ann and I have come. Andrew's come. They do an amazing Halloween wine dinner. Amanda, weren't you the witch doling out the beverages at the wine dinner for Halloween? It is crazy. It is crazy. This place is amazing, so please support them. They're very supportive of all of our events. They do a lot. I'm in the Henniker Dems group. I live in Henniker. They support us all the time. So please support this place, because they are amazing.